heart. This back and forth will take me anywhere. I can't need you anymore. You're out there to run your own, and I can't need you anymore. They say all good things must end, but it's been too long since I've seen one again. It's over now, you played your role, now it's time to dissipate. May not get very far, let's be honest, I will never be a star. But holding on will take me anywhere it needs to be. Take a good look, 'cause I'll be gone. I can't need you anymore. You're out there, you're on your own, and I can't need you anymore. Tell me I'm wrong. Anything to make it easier. Oh, keep your secret songs, 'cause I can't hear them anymore.
Hello.
Hi there, how's it going?
Oh, well enough. Okay. Trying to make sure I've got everything started.
Well, you're streaming on Twitch, and Ro acknowledged you're streaming on Twitch. I don't know if Zeke's going to be able to join us or not
We will find out.
due to Wi-Fi issues. Arte is green with a white dot in the middle.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
I think I called him at the same time I did you.
Oh, okay.
That's a. But
Oh, he's typing.
ah.
I know you start at 9:30, so I try to be here at 9:30 so you don't get nervous. Oh, he needs to switch rooms in the house.
Ah.
Back way nice and slow. Feel the ebb and flow. But please get sucked out to sea.
Hello.
Hi, Murphac. How are you? Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So once Sarte joins, we should have what we anticipate will be the crew for today.
Okay. And
In
I
the
need coffee.
meantime, That
Oh,
I
you're on
have.
you're on the other side. You're freaking
I
me
did
out.
that. The reason why I did that was because if I was in my normal position, it would look like that whale was about to eat me.
Oh. Which would actually be funny. Oh my gosh.
I'm up to 98 subscribers on my Twitch stream.
Ooh.
Now, if only they'd actually all show up.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that the fourth Saturday is a little harder to remember than the second Saturday. But I did
Well,
make
that's
an
the thing is that,
announcement.
yeah. And that's also the thing about the, okay. Let's see. Going back to Skype.
Oh, well, I guess I better take my Abby to Cavern Tours, should.
Yeah, I just got through doing that. Okay. I've got Arte's name on the call, so presumably it's just a matter of him oh, he said it'd be about 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people so far. I'm going to try turning on my fan for a moment since it's getting a bit warm. So let me know if... Okay. Yesterday it was 92 degrees here, and my mom's house doesn't have air conditioning yet. Well, that's pretty loud. But you have the music on, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Is there any way, or is it convenient before you post to YouTube to truncate all this beginning technical stuff?
Well, what I'm doing... Okay, hang on for a sec. I'm typing something. Okay. Anyway, let's see. As far as the half hour beforehand, that's actually, I do that not because it's strictly necessary, but because this is allowing notices to go out from the stream channels and people to notice that and set themselves up to attend. So it's basically the half hour I go in advance is to allow people to get here.
Yes, which is wonderful. Because I signed up for the email notifications, which is
But
great.
I tried to set up all of the technical stuff beforehand, except of course if there's certain things that I can't do until I do them.
But for the purposes of YouTube, you can't edit it
Oh,
for YouTube purposes.
if you're talking about removing that. Yeah, I could do that, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, it's a pain in the backside.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
Say
complaining, because when I was going back to watch last season in order to update my schedule, there's like this first half hour that I have to fast forward through. It's like, okay,
Well,
when
actually,
are we going to start the tour?
on most of those, I should have links to where the tour actually begins.
Oh, you know what? You did on one of them, I know. At least one.
Yeah. Say, mostly it depends on whether or not I'm being very particularly absent-minded, but I try to do that anyway. Because it's simpler than editing out that first half hour. There's also the fact that sometimes we talk about stuff before the tour that might be of interest.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not complaining. It's just a question.
But yeah, editing the videos is always an option. Arte says, I need to switch rooms in the house. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. At this point, I'm kind of wondering if he meant that he's actually rebuilding them.
Yeah, maybe.
It's taking him a while.
Or maybe switch rooms to another house.
Sites to Missouri 2 weeks ago and had lunch at Lambert's Cafe. Ever been there? No, I've never been to Siteston. In fact, I haven't the faintest idea where that is.
Where are you getting that message?
Rose asking
in a PM?
that. Yeah, it is a PM. Okay. He says that he was in Missouri 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
So he's asking me if I'd been to a particular cafe, and the answer is no, because I don't know where Siteston is.
Oh.
Home of the Throne Roll, he says. Which makes me wonder if that's actually what they do, is throw the roll at you.
I'm wondering if I should go into the city and announce this. Let me update my friends list real quick, my buddies list.
Oh, he says that yes, that's exactly what it is. Is that they throw the bread rolls at you when you ask for one.
Oh, I hope they're soft.
Presumably, but that wouldn't work very well for me because I never learned to catch very well.
Oh dear. Well, just open your mouth real wide.
That would be an excellent way for me to get nailed right between the eyes.
Ooh, I'm gonna run to the city. That's Cave Woman says the rolls are soft.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a good thing if I ever went there, because knowing my luck, I'd be the first person to ever get a concussion from a bread roll. Oh, I forgot to switch and see who's...
Your mug matches the sea, almost.
Nah. You're the only one who's said put anything on the spring chat.
I know.
Rested is a relative term. As for the caffeinated part, I think that should answer your question. So, Sykeston apparently is 300 miles south of me, where the Interstate 55 and 57 cross. Yeah, that's way south. And I don't think I've been down to that part. I've been all over the northern part. And when I used to do service calls for Dell and HP and places like that, and that took me all over North Missouri, southern Iowa, and over into Nebraska a time or two. Where are we going? We're going places.
It's a secret. We're going to start at the beginning. But where is the beginning? Cookies. Yvonne says there's cookies. Where's cookies? Where?
By the way, the coffee mug that I use for the tours is not my normal one. My normal mug, that real quick.
Well, define normal.
Okay. This is my normal mug here. And and people used to comment, or always commented about how large it is. Mm-hmm. So, while I was digging through some of my stuff, I found another mug that I had for a while there. And so, I pulled this one out just for the tours.
Yeah, but which one's larger, really? Because you're not showing us the circumference. It's one of those optical
they're actually,
illusions.
They're actually very similar diameter on the inside. But the thing is that the one with the black rim, which is what I usually drink out of, holds about 2 cups. The one with the white rim is more like 3.
Oh my gosh. So which one are you using today?
The white one. That's it. Like I said, that's my little running joke for the tours.
And that's because this is your first tour and you have to get through it. Well, did you see in chat that Cave Woman and Caver are both in the Amtrak station in Chicago. I mean, that's dedication.
That or extreme boredom.
Dedication. Well, I mean, they're cavers, so of course they have to come to the cavern, right? They are literally cavers. That's what they do for their hobby.
Mm. Oh, Millis Mary says that my mugs would pass for pictures in her house.
Sorry for the late join.
Hi,
took a
Arte.
Hello, Arte.
Hey. The computer did not want to shut down right away.
Oh dear. Yeah, we were speculating that you meant a room in a different house.
Well, she was saying
Room in
that.
a different house.
I was saying that when you said you had to change room, I thought I was saying that I thought you had to move the furniture.
No, I did in a little bit, because I've got a computer armoire set up in the office, but the office has become a junk room.
Oh.
So I have to clear away the armoire so I can actually use it before I can. So it's a PIA, but it works.
Well, I'm just so thrilled you're here, Arte. Larry,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled you're here too, and Murphac.
Well, I kind of have to be here.
Yeah. Well, now that Arte's here, okay. No, you do have to be here because you have all the special effects.
Do we stay on the Skype here throughout the tour?
Yes,
That's correct.
yes, that's how everyone is hearing us.
Oh, I thought you were doing it through Twitch.
Well, I am, but
he streams
the Skype is
through
tied
Twitch.
into it.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So yeah, you're don't say anything embarrassing because all the tour guests will hear you.
Yes, and we're being recorded on YouTube, simulcast on YouTube and Facebook, right, Larry?
Yeah.
Getting all well. What about TikTok and Instagram? You know, you gotta get all the social media.
I'm too old for TikTok and Instagram. Hey, say the kid. I'm one of that. I'm one of the ancient crowd where Facebook is about as much as we can handle.
Yeah, I don't even use Facebook anymore. Yes, Scott Miller is asking if Arte's here. Oh, are you bodily in the hood, Arte?
No. Let me. Where is? Oh, okay. Mirrobot's not online yet. Or am I having key?
Actually, no, he's not. Mirrobot's not online yet. Uh-oh.
He isn't, but he still would have to come to the hood on your own. He's not here.
Oh,
Yeah, we're in
so
Cavern Tours
yeah.
hood.
Okay, I got you. I'm on my way.
Okay. I have an invite. Arte's alt belongs to Cavern Tours hood, but he's going to use this regular Abby.
The end of the tour is so close to the beginning of Story Night.
Mm-hmm.
The first announcement for Story Night that I figured it'd just be easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Zeke is having Wi-Fi problems, so he doesn't know if he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I caught that. It's like bad time to have Wi-Fi problems, but it happens.
Yep.
Well, it's a good thing I'm co-hostess.
Iwalk K is saying that Arte sounds much better than the in-game than in the in-game voice chat, and that's why we do the
Yep.
voice over Skype. say, not to mention the fact that this way Arte is going to find out for the first time what it's like to be able to talk and not have to hold down the shift or tab key.
Yeah, exactly. Which can be bad too when you have birds in the background, which I don't anymore because they're in another room. But I have a dog that barks occasionally.
Then too, Skype is not susceptible to the feedback if two avatars are talking at the same time in Cavern.
Oh.
Yeah, see, you didn't think about that, did you?
No. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. I'm not thinking about much. And by the way, once you turn off the music, we should probably all test our volumes with the crowd. I assume your music's still on?
Yeah.
Twitch.
But I can go
No more
ahead and
bird
turn
commentary.
that off now because
Yeah.
at this point we're 5
We've got
minutes
5
out.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
And Magic Yoda is on.
Okay.
The who?
Magic Yoda, but I don't see Magic Bot.
Oh.
Or Mirrobot, rather, sorry.
Yeah.
Murphac's here with us in Skype.
So presumably he's rebooting the bot to make sure that there aren't any problems.
So Larry, did you see my message on Skype, the private message on Skype before I joined the call? Actually, before I shut down the computer.
Let me take a quick look and see.
Basically, in the past, when you and I have tag teamed, I did the history, you did the flora, fauna, and machinery.
Right.
And am I just doing the story on Flame, or are we doing something similar to the previous tag team, or what?
Okay. In case I didn't make that clear, I did since you have story night right after this, I didn't want you to have to work that hard. So the idea is you'll take over the way what I was doing when I first joined the tours, which is to say throwing in color commentary, making sure that I don't completely blow it when it comes to the history, and filling in with stories and the like when on request.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I didn't want you to have to work your tail off for 3 events in one day.
Well, the information for the Cleft has already been written out. For most of the ages, it's already been written out. So
okay.
It's just pulling up my script and reading from it.
Yeah. There's also the fact that every year I've been learning more about things. So there's going to be a lot of information I have that you missed out on because you weren't with us last season.
Okay. Did you see my email that I sent about a half hour ago about the coordinates for Elenin and Gomi? Gomi Pub?
No, I hadn't read that one yet, but I see it now.
Yeah, I question the accuracy, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, according to the key signature, the Gomi Pub is actually in the Palace complex, not in the Guildhall complex.
No, it's too short. Remember that the Great Zero is behind the Guildhall complex, and the Zero Meridian goes right through the Guildhall Tower, and then down the Great Stairs, and the Baron's city office is in the part of the cliff face that is just if you're facing with your back to the Great Zero, it's to the left of the Zero Meridian.
Correct. Clockwise.
And that's counterclockwise.
No, it's clockwise. You can, because when you're in the Baron's office and you're looking down, you can see
the top of
Dakota
the
Plaza, and you can see the top, the palace,
right,
rooftop.
Yeah.
So
And
You are
and
actually right of
as you're
the
facing
Great
as
Cirque.
you're facing with your back to the Great Zero, and then looking out towards the Carroth's Arch, that's to your left. If you're standing on the Zero Meridian.
Yeah, but if you're looking out the telescope from the Baron's office, you're looking across the courtyard to the palace.
Right. Which is also to the left of the Zero Meridian as you're facing towards the Great Arch.
Correct. And the coordinates that the Gomi pub are left of the meridian.
Correct.
The guild hall is to the right of the meridian.
Please forgive the interruption, but it's 11
tour
and
time.
Mirabot's
Yeah.
not logged in yet. And we need him.
Is Murphac still on?
I hear Murphac
Yeah.
talking.
Do you see it?
He's very quiet though.
He says he's asking if we see it on the list.
I do
No,
not.
Mirabot's not. No, he's not on in game. Oh, Carol says he can see Mirabot.
It's a little problem. See it?
Okay, in that case, I wonder if it's that old invisibility bug rearing its head again, because he's
All right.
not on my list.
Okay, and not on my list, so I guess I'm going to have to relog so we can be seen.
Oh, it's the login after type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. In
Oh
that
gosh.
case,
Okay.
well, we'll we'll all just have to.
Okay. I'll
redo.
announce it in text chat here.
Okay, so let me go ahead and. Log out.
Of course, no tour would be complete, especially
Without
the
a-
first one of the season, if we
without a
didn't have
glitch, yeah.
glitches.
Exactly.
Oh, I just got
It's
a
just-
error too when I logged out.
It's called, that's the first two letters of snafu, situation normal.
So now we're going to have to wait a bit for everyone to log in. Are you still streaming music?
Anyway, for those listening to the stream who wondered what Arte and I are arguing about here, I found out that the new Guild of Messengers pub that Dude's built, he actually went through the trouble of putting in the key coordinate system as part of the model, and that places it very near to the Guildhall Tower in that cliff face on the same side that the Baron City office is, which I thought was a neat little touch on his part.
But I'm wondering, where did he get the coordinates from Cyan?
Well, no, you can't. All he would have had to do was basically go anywhere in the city, look at the coordinates, and then extrapolate from there. But the thing is that he would have had to build the grid system into his model.
Okay. Oh, but this is a unique. This is the unique Guild of Messengers pub.
Yeah, this is the one. His.
It's not the original one, so he could put it anywhere he wanted to.
Correct.
On Agura Island. I gotcha.
The actual, the old Guild of Messengers pub, just like the other ones, doesn't have key coordinates, and that's
Right.
because they're all clones of the Watchers pub, which does have coordinates.
Yes, and I just watched that last season's guild tour, and I do remember that. So we're
It
going to
looks
have to
like
wait
my
till
game's
everyone logs
crashed.
back in, and then we, I
Yeah,
guess
well,
maybe you can
me
do an
anyway.
audio check. Hmm?
You can do that
Check
now
what?
because
Check
remember that the sound is independent. Oh, I
Right.
said you can, but you can't ask anyone. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, we
I'm
need
having I
text
have to
chat feedback of volume. Go ahead.
I'm I'm having to shut down my game and restart because it crashed on me when I tried just logging in.
Yeah, so this is the bug where if you log in before someone else, you can't see them, but if you log in after someone else, you can see him.
Yeah. That was called the Invisibug back in the day.
Yeah, it was what, yesterday? Little joke.
Same old moolah, but we love it.
At my age,
So,
3 years ago, it does feel like yesterday.
Arte, I think I'm a little older than you, right? 3 months.
I thought it was like 2 months. That might be 3 months.
July 9th, and you're September?
Yeah, so you're 2 months.
Yeah.
July, August, September, well, 2.5 months. Big deal.
Yeah, because you're the end of September.
Yeah.
So I'm always older than you are.
Woo.
That depends
Does it
on how you count the date.
When you get to our age, does it really matter?
Well, I think Larry's older than both of us.
Yeah, by a year, I think.
Plus, for each tour that passes, I count the gray hairs in his beard, and I can extrapolate his age from those.
Well, that wouldn't work
So-
on me because my beard's been white since I was in my 40s.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
In my family, it's the exact opposite. My hair didn't start turn white until I was in my late 50s, I think.
I have well, my hair is a different story. I've got silver strands amongst the gold, but always been a blonde. But my beard has always been dark brown, except for right around my mouth. My mustache and goatee were always blonde. And I had one boss. I was working at an outdoor job, and my boss. This is back when I was like 20. He said I should turn my head upside down so I can get the sun bleach out the rest of my beard.
Well, I tried to log in and nothing happened, so I'm trying again.
Let's back to the hood.
All right, I've got a black screen.
Yeah, I got a black screen too. So I exited out of that, and now I'm in the spinning wheel mode. Updating. Don't worry, folks. We'll get there eventually.
One of these years.
I did allocate 2 tours for this region, Larry, as you requested. So we may have to do that.
Welcome to the True Tour experience. Wait, hurry up and wait.
Exactly.
I'm just so thrilled we have such a big turnout.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Now that's one of the
And I
premier
see
events of
Miro.
the Cavern.
At least it was all worth the effort. I can see the bot now.
Oh, good.
Yay!
Yeah, that's a necessity. If you're going to have a Visibug, you can't have it with the bot.
He's just a little bit too important for that.
Okay.
At least
so,
at least at the beginning, because once we get into his into the age that we're going to be visiting, he'll be in the driver's seat and he can grab us and move us whether we can see him or not.
Okay. So let me check my buddies list and make sure everyone is here in the hood. Cave Woman's in the Nexus. Isa's in the Nexus. Murrowbot's where he's supposed to be. Podhopper's in the Nexus. I mean, technically, we could just make announcements over Twitch and then all link to Murrowbot. But first of all, if we could just do an audio check, please. Can everyone hear? How is the volume for Larry, for Arte, and for me? Do any of us need to be louder or softer? Volume's okay?
Check one,
All
check
good?
two. This is Arte speaking. Can everybody hear me okay?
What? Yes. Well, yeah, over Skype. Never mind, I'm just being silly. Okay.
I think actually, Arte, you could stand to be just a hair louder.
Is this better?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're sounding about equal with the volume that Susan has now.
Okay. Mirfak, are you ready for us? Yes,
Yes,
I use
ma'am.
stuff, so. Mirfak's ready. Okay. Larry,
Okay,
you're in charge.
I am.
You pretend to be. Really, I'm
actually,
in charge. But
we've got the pre-tour announcements to do, don't we?
welcome everyone to our first tour for the new tour season. This is going to be a bit different from last season because, as you should have noticed, we have a second tour guide, Arteerton, who's been talking the whole time. That's him. He's the one who leads Story Night. He's another Dunny historian. So you guys your heads are going to be filled with all sorts of information from the two gentlemen who sometimes disagree with each other.
Mostly
But-
useless information, but
Okay. Well, we'll decide whose information is useless. But we really appreciate you guys. Of course, we
Mhm.
have returning our special effects wizard, Murfak, who owns and operates Mirabot. He will be we'll be using him to link to Mirabot's ages, which can be tweaked permissibly by Cyan for special effects. Yes, there will be a quiz at the end, so you have to stay all the way to the end. And the first and one of the most important things is to go ahead and buddy Larry and me and Arte and Mirabot. And to buddy Mirabot, you type /add buddy 34319.
32,319.
Isn't it 34319?
No, 32,319.
Oh, good grief. I guess I'm fired as a hostess already.
first mistake of the season, but who's counting?
Okay, type. It's on the
She got it.
splash screen. 32319.
She got it right all this time. Yeah, all last season she didn't make any mistakes on that.
I think I did actually, but you know, I'm old.
Ain't none of us getting any younger.
So today, I'm going to keep it a secret. Should I tell them where we're going today?
They're going to find out very shortly.
Okay.
So there's
And
not
as-
much point at this point.
Yeah, don't stop publishing my phone number. He wrote it on the bathroom wall, and I thought that was really rude. But anyway, that's really rude. This is being recorded for YouTube, which is a bit embarrassing. Now you threw me off my game, which I was already off my game. Zeke was supposed to be joining us as a co-host, but unfortunately he's having Wi-Fi problems. So hopefully he'll be with us next month. He's the one who originated the idea for even having Cavern Tours. So with that said, let's go ahead and PM the word link Link Tamirabot, and we will join him for our first tour.
For the record, I wouldn't say that Zeke originated the idea for the tours because uh, things like it had existed before he uh, he came up with it. But he's the first one to put it into practice in a form that was actually fun and entertaining.
Hmm.
To give you an example, I had actually made a series of marker tours to do something along this line myself, which is how Zeke found me. But it wasn't anywhere near as good as what uh, he came up with. And then Arte here was the first tour guide, and so Zeke invited me to hear one of his lectures to see whether or not I was interested in joining the team. The rest is history.
Interesting. Okay, we only have one straggler here in the hood who's Magic Yoda, but I've buddied
Hmm.
him, and so I will invite him to join us when he's ready.
Yeah, no biggie. If he's listening, he'll hear everything. Okay. And as you can see, we are starting out the tour season in the Cleft. Physically, the Cleft is a fissure in the slope of a dormant volcano. The caldera of the volcano isn't very far from where the Denis excavated the great shaft, and there's a tunnel system beginning at the shaft that leads to the Denis caverns. The area is marked in your key device as Denis Rutagamen, which means uh, Denis unknown. The Denis never officially saw the desert, having canceled their tunnel project just short of breaking through when they were only a few yards from the surface. However, Anna brought her husband Atris and her son Gen to see the cleft and the lodge shortly before the fall of Denis, so unofficially at least a few Denis definitely have seen this place. While the exact location of the cleft isn't plotted, we know that it's located in Eddy County, New Mexico, and the land around it is owned by Dr. Jeffrey Zandy. Jeff inherited the land from his father, Elias, who brought several thousand acres around the site. A very large swath of the land that you can see around the volcano belongs to Elias, who left the majority of it to the Denis Restoration Foundation. Jeff
Excuse me,
just
Larry.
owns. Hmm?
Could you please stream the Cleft on Twitch?
Oh, excuse me. You're right. I forgot to turn on that window.
Thank you. And by the way, Larry positioned himself to the right of the screen, so it didn't look like he was getting eaten by that whale.
Okay, actually, it was turned on, but I think I have it under. Take that back. Hang on just a minute. Which number two? some reason. I've got the window open, but it's not actually showing anything. So let me try killing that one more time. And there we go.
All right, video's up.
Yeah. For
Thank
some
you, Larry.
reason,
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
oh, that's okay. But they get I actually had the window theoretically running, but it just wasn't showing up on the screen for some reason. I had to redo it a couple times. Okay. Anyway, I was going to say that as you look outside the fence, most of the land that you see was owned by Elias and left to the DRF. But the land inside the fence was left to his son Jeff when Elias died. Okay. So Jeff just owns the land inside the fence, which includes the volcano. Although since there is a fence around the volcano, I'm not entirely certain whether or not that was theoretically excluded from the property that Jeff owns. Now, as I go into this lecture, something I'm going to mention is that I'm going to be mentioning a lot of dates during the tours, and they are approximates in many cases. There was a set of Denis fans back around 2004 who began various projects to try and get all the dates sorted, and I'm using a timeline from one of those fans. So but since then, other people have also come up with timelines, and there are occasional disagreements about which ones are the right times. Usually the discrepancies are only a year or two, but the dates I give you may be incorrect. That's because my primary source for dates was a timeline that was created, as I mentioned, a fair amount of time ago. Anyway, the Cleft was home to a surprising number of people throughout history, and the area played a very large role in the fate of an entire civilization. In this lecture, I'll be talking about individuals who were involved in the history of the area. And the very first one was a woman named Anna. We don't have any pictures or know what Anna looked like, but she was a young woman from Earth's surface who was born sometime around the year 1694. Her nationality, original home, and last name were all unknown. At the time the novels were written, the DRC was concealing the location of the Cleft and Denis by giving out information that pointed towards it being located somewhere in the Middle East or North Africa. For that reason, many of the names given to places and people on the surface in the novels are very likely to have been faked. Anna was given the Denis name Tiana, and that was given by her husband Atris, who I often call Atris the Elder to avoid confusion. She married him in 1721. Tiana means storyteller in Denis, and was an obvious pun on her human name, but was also given to her because she loved telling stories about the surface to Atris when they were courting and after they were married. Anna was the mother of Gen and the grandmother of Atris the Younger, who married Catherine of Riven and became the father of Achenar, Cyrus, and Yesha. It appears to have been an unspoken tradition in Atris' family to recycle the male names every few generations. So that is why Atris the Younger was named after his grandfather. Gen was also named after an ancestor. I believe it was his great-grandfather, wasn't it, Arte?
Yes. Oops. Yes, Gen was named after Atris the Elder's grandfather. We don't know much about Gen, the senior, only that his life was cut short, and he probably would have been a great man had he been allowed to live.
When Anna was okay. When Anna was young, her family moved from their original homeland somewhere in Europe to southeast New Mexico. It's later shown that Atris wrote most of his notes in English, so that may be a clue as to their probable homeland. Her father found work as a surveyor and prospector for a wealthy trader who was called Amanjira in the Book of Tiana. Again, that was probably not his real name due to the deception about the Cleft's location. Anna's father searched for valuable metal deposits, although he also reported anything else that the trader might have found of interest. The family lived in a small cave dwelling they cut high into the wall of a narrow canyon, which they called the lodge. The only access to it was a bridge from the other side of the canyon. That was done to make it easily defended, and mirrored the practice of a number of Native Americans who also built cliffside dwellings for defensive purposes. When Anna was 12, she and her parents went on a climbing expedition. Her mother slipped while ascending, and a faulty security line snapped from the resulting strain. Anna and her father could only watch as she fell to her death. After her mother's death, Anna took over the work she'd been doing and spent her teenage years assisting her father in his surveying work. In 1715, while passing near the volcano and Cleft, her father discovered an opening into the ground that appeared to lead to a cave and marked it for further investigation. Although they didn't know it at the time, the two of them had discovered an entrance into the upper tunnel system that led to the great shaft. Shortly after the discovery of the cave, Anna's father began showing signs of an illness that affected his ability to work. Anna and her father spent several days clearing the cave of fallen rocks until they could finally access the far end, and found that it was larger than they'd first thought. Because of her father's condition, it was Anna who entered first, discovering a large cavern, and in it, a strange unknown material that she simply called red stuff. As it turned out, the red stuff was a material used by the Denis to seal their tunnels. Unfortunately, her father's health worsened in the time after they found the mysterious substance, and he was unable to investigate the cave personally. Not very long after that, he succumbed to the illness and died. His death left Anna at a loss about what to do with herself. Up to that point, she hadn't made any plans for her future, content in her role of assisting her father. She knew she didn't want to remain at the lodge alone, so she decided to move to the nearest town, which was called Tajinar in the novel, but was more likely to have been a real town in New Mexico. There are two towns that were built or founded in the 1600s in New Mexico that might have been candidates. One is called Socorro and the other was Albuquerque. And since Albuquerque's closer to the Cleft, that's possibly the town that she was intending to go to. From there, she thought she might even travel back to Europe to become acquainted with her extended family. Before that, though, she decided that she would make one last exploration of the cave. It was an impulsive choice made after she packed and was already on her way to town. Because she had no plans to return, if she was ever to learn more about the cave, that was her last chance. She knew it was risky to explore alone, but it would be worthwhile if she found something valuable that she could sell to the trader. In the novel, it was written, "It was madness even to think of exploring again, especially alone, yet the thought of walking away, of never having tried to find an answer, was impossible. She had to go and look." Anna managed to bypass the seal had set on the tunnel and found a digging machine that the Denis had used when constructing them. It appears to have been trapped in place by a collapse of rock around it, and may have been abandoned as being too much work to recover. Anna was fascinated by the machine, but soon continued further into the tunnels. When she did, she found the great shaft itself, and then, after making her way to the bottom, the tunnels that lay beyond it. She followed them until she finally ran across living Denis citizens, who captured her and took her to their city. The things that happened to Anna in Denis will be covered in another lecture. But as a summary, Anna lived there first as a prisoner, and then later she was granted citizenship. She married a Denis man who was involved in the events that led to the fall of Denis. After that, she fled Denis and returned to the surface with her son, Gin. Anna and Gin lived in the Cleft until Gin left Anna in 1750 at the age of 14. Gin blamed his mother for the fall of Denis, and so his life with her wasn't a happy one. When he left, he probably wandered around North America for a short time, and during his travels he stumbled across a hidden enclave of technologically advanced people who were called the Ahmad in the novels. Again, their real name was probably something different, but that's the only name that's ever given for them. The Ahmad had devices that had a resemblance to the technology of Denis, although their viewers projected three-dimensional images instead of being flat two-dimensional images like the Denis had. Because of that, there's a popular theory that they might have been influenced by Denis workers who were assigned to construct air shafts to the surface when the Denis first moved into the cavern. It's on record that several of the workers who constructed the air shafts disappeared when the project was completed in 7573 according to the 7573 BC. And the speculation has it that they chose to remain on the surface and were adopted by the people living in the region around the cleft at that time. The natives were part of what archaeologists call the Cochise Desert culture, and it was around this period that they began farming instead of just hunting and gathering. Perhaps the Dene deserters were involved in the shift in food production. Dr. Watson has speculated that the Mayan word for the cenotes, or a cenote is a well of water formed when land collapses in above the water table, because there's a lot of water-filled caves under the land there. Let's see. Anyway, he believes that the Central American word for that, which was cenote, was derived from a Dene word. Okay, can you tell Potrude where the sound is?
The sound in Twitch?
Yeah, he says that he's not hearing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, the Dene word for abyss is sonote, and Watson has a theory that the Mayan, for instance, may have picked up that word and used it for those water-filled pits. While living among the Ahmad, Gin learned from them and fell in love with a local girl named Lyra, although he called her Keita. They were married in 1751 after a short courtship. A few years later, Keita became pregnant with what would be their only son. In her third trimester, it became obvious that something was desperately wrong, but the Ahmad doctors couldn't treat her. Remembering that his mother had studied Dene medicine during his childhood, Gin traveled back to the cleft with Keita in the hope that she would know something the Ahmad didn't. They arrived back at the cleft in 1755. Anna tried everything she knew to save Keita's life, but the birth was a very difficult one, and the young mother died shortly after the delivery, although Anna managed to save the child. Gin was both grief-stricken and enraged, and rejected the newborn. Before storming off, he told Anna that she could see to Keita's funeral and to bury the child with her.
I'm going to interrupt you real quickly. Another
Sure.
thing too, with Gen, later on, in his I believe it was in his journal writings in Ribbon, he made the comment that about his wife Keita, that he would give up everything just to have her again, just to be with her again.
Is that journal in that, I don't remember the number of the age, the 233rd age, I think, where there's a photo of her or the image of her as well?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Yes.
Gin, everything that he became, one of the real turning points in his life was the death of Keita. He wasn't exactly a shining example of humanity before then. Having grown up believing that the Dene were gods for creating ages. When he had been young, he had listened to a lecture by a Dene extremist who was teaching that theory in a public lecture. And while that didn't affect Denis as a whole, it definitely had an effect on the young Gen, and he kept that theory for the rest of his life. But Keita was definitely the best part of him. When the man that she married was not the man that Gen was after her death.
Another thing too, how significant Keta was to Gen. The two most important people in Gen's entire life were his father and his wife. And in Riven, in his office on age 233, there were only two images. One was of his father, and one was of his wife. So, I also have a little bit of a fun fact for those of you who've played Riven. The image that was used, and I'm stepping out of character here. The image that was used for Gen's father, Atris the Senior, or Atris the Elder, is actually a U.S. Confederate general, a picture of a U.S. Confederate general that was taken during the 1860s.
I thought he looked like a Confederate.
Yeah, that's a
And
Confederate
It looked
uniform
like
he's
it.
wearing.
Yeah,
I
interesting.
think Major General Heuer, I think, Heuer, or Huer.
Interesting.
Okay, getting back to the lecture. Following the tradition of her husband's family, it was Anna who named Gen's son after his grandfather. She raised Atris the Younger for 14 years, giving him a basic education that combined human and Denis knowledge. They led a modest They led a modest lifestyle, but Anna always managed to satisfy their basic needs and even bought occasional gifts for Atris. Arte, if you would mind stepping in, you can tell them about one of those gifts.
All right. Well, let's see here. Like Larry was saying, they lived in the desert, and life in the desert was hard and unforgiving. And the two of them, Anna and Atris the Younger, toiled together during the day, tending their meager garden. And every square inch of the cleft that was available to be cultivated was. And at night, as Larry said, were his studies. And Atris had the dual benefit because she taught him from the books her father had used to teach her, the ones that were brought from Europe. And she also told him stories of his Denis heritage. One day when Atris was 7 years old, Anna purchased a surprise for Atris from the caravan of travelers that periodically passed through the region. It was a small orange kitten named Paquette. I'm going to type that into Moola here. However, since the cat's coat was the color of the desert sand at sunset, young Atris decided to name him Flame. Do you want me to continue with the story and up
Yes.
to Flame's demise?
Yes.
Okay. The kitten and young Atris, bonded almost immediately. And from that moment on, they were inseparable. As Atris grew up, he grew to be very observant of his surroundings. And eventually, his inquisitive mind compelled him to start conducting his own experiments. One of his first ones was watching the movement of a sand dune. When his measurement was finished, he told Anna about it. And of course, she started off by asking, "What did you see, Atris?" She was impressed by his observations, that and the fact that he even was able to go so far as to be able to explain why it moved and why the sand was hard packed on the windward side and loose on the leeward. As Atris was slowly growing up, Atris was slowly growing up, and Anna cherished every moment that he grew in intellect and maturity, even during those occasions when hard lessons were learned. One day, when Atris was 10 years old, he saw his very first desert rainstorm. And during the rain, Anna's memories were taken back to a time when she and Atris the Elder danced together in the rain on a world they called Gemedet. He was amazed at the flowers that seemed to bloom almost immediately. Even more amazing was the vegetation that grew more lush near one of the volcano's active vents. Using that dirt, he grew a special crop of their shoots in that dirt. Hang on a second. I had to clear my throat and I didn't want to break everyone's eardrums. After harvesting the crop, he noticed his cat Flame playing in the dirt where the shoots had been. He tasted one of the raw shoots. It had a bitter, metallic aftertaste. He rinsed them off more thoroughly. Unfortunately, the damage had been done. He got violently ill, but he survived. Unfortunately, Flame did not. It was a hard lesson for him to have to learn. Anna watched how, in a dignified manner, he carefully picked up the tiny animal, carried it to a patch of blue flowers, and buried it. She watched as he kept in all that he was feeling and knew in that moment that he had shed something of his childhood. He had taken a step further into adulthood and a step further away from her.
Okay, thank you very much, Arte.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Did Anna and Gen and Atris all live in the fissure?
The
Not
Cleft.
at the same time.
No. Or we should say, they only did so for, what was it, about a day? When Gen came back for Atris. That was the only time that they were together.
But Anna and Atris lived in the fissure that's near here, right?
The Cleft, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. It's not entirely clear why Anna chose to remain in the Cleft instead of moving to one of the New Mexican towns. Maybe she was afraid that Atris' mixed heritage might lead to complications, or perhaps she just didn't want to go live among other humans again. Whatever her reasons, she and Atris only had contact with traveling traders and the local Native Americans. Anna and Atris were content with their lives and lived into the Cleft until 1769, when Atris turned 14. Then Gen returned to the Cleft and announced that he would take Atris with him on his next journey. Anna was distraught at the prospect because she didn't want to lose Atris. She thought him too young to leave, and she didn't trust Gen's motives. But Gen was adamant in his decision, and in the end, Anna had to let Atris go. She only managed to get a promise from Gen that he would send Regis his mute service with a message from Atris after 3 months. That was a promise that it turned out Gen had no intention of keeping. When the time came and passed, it was only that at Atris' insistence that Gen again... Excuse me, Sam. that Gen again agreed to send Regis to the surface. it was supposedly to let Anna know that Atris was well. But in doing that, Gin insisted that there would be no further contact with Anna. It's also unclear if he actually kept his promise about sending Regis, or just said that to mollify Atris. Over time, the time that he spent with Gin, Atris learned a lot about the art, and came to believe that his father's methods were flawed. At one point, Atris decided that he'd had enough and asked to be allowed to return to the Cleft. Gin not only refused to permit it, he locked Atris in his room, telling him outright that he wasn't going to be allowed to go back. Atris then told Gin that Anna had taught him more about Denis than Gin ever had, causing Gin to become completely enraged. And apparently he felt that Atris was trying to make a fool of him. So he locked Atris in So that was when he locked Atris in the room. Afterward,
let's
Gin
just say
told...
that Gin...
Hmm?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, in other words, Gen's cheese slid completely off his cracker.
Afterward, Gin told Atris that, from that point forward, Atris and Gin were to speak only in the Denis language. Anna, on the other hand, because of her suspicions about Gin, had secretly trailed him and Atris down to Denis. During the years that they were there, she kept a watchful eye on what was going on, intent on protecting her grandson from harm, even if it might mean she had to actively oppose her son. It was during that time that, while Atris was learning to write, that he created his first age called Inception. And that became another point of conflict. Gin had written in another age. You remember which number that was, Arte? The one with the fog?
Age 37?
37, that's it. And Gin kept experimenting with that age even though it was inhabited. And at one point, he caused a climate change there which started adversely affecting the inhabitants of the age. When Atris pleaded with him to do something about it, at first Gin didn't care, but he eventually made some changes slapdash to the descriptive book of the age, and the next time that Atris went there, he found that while the same people were there, they didn't know him, even though he had spent a very long time there. So Atris then, when he returned to Denis, pleaded with Gin to allow him to try and fix the age. And that sparked a fight between them. At which point, Gin grabbed Inception, Atris's age, that he'd spent a great deal of time and effort on, and started leafing through it, saying, "This isn't necessary, and you shouldn't have put that in, that you don't need this kind of detail," and eventually started actually deleting, by using a special mark that the Denis had for the purpose, entire passages. He basically gutting the age. And when Atris became upset about it, he Gin wound up burning the book. And that, of course, was pretty much the last straw.
quick correction there, Larry.
Hmm.
Uh,
Sure.
Gen burned the book for age 37, not the
Oh,
book of
okay.
Inception.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I know he had. I just remembered that in a fit of rage he had burned one of them. In the meantime, in 1773, Anna met a young woman named Catherine, a Rivanese student of Gen, and learned that the younger woman opposed him, even though she had been marked by Gen as being a candidate as his future wife. Catherine used the linking book to go to Riven, and after a final excuse me, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Anyway, once Catherine and Anna met, they quickly became friends, and the two of them devised a plan to free Atris. Together, they wrote a new age named Myst as a refuge from Gen, and created linking books to the age. Later, when Catherine met Atris, the two quickly fell in love. After freeing Atris from his imprisonment in a room in Cavern, Anna went ahead to Myst. While back on Riven, Catherine and Atris destroyed Gen's books to other ages. Catherine used the linking book to go to Riven, and then after a final confrontation with Gen, Atris jumped into a phenomenon called the Starfisher, which linked to Myst as he fell. This assured that the linking book was inaccessible to Gen, and since he was afraid of jumping into the fissure would lead to oblivion, Atris hoped that the book would be destroyed, although that did not turn out to be the case. Anna never returned to the Cleft, and instead died on Myst Island many years later. That was not the end of her family's involvement with the area, though. In December of 1806, a person known only as the Stranger found the Myst linking book Atris had dropped where it was lying near the Cleft, and became caught up in a crisis between Atris, Catherine, and their sons. After those events, Atris and Catherine stopped living on Myst and moved to a new age called Chroma Agana, where they tried to restore the Denis city and located Denis survivors of the fall, along with people from another age that Atris had written. What was that one again? Arte?
I beg your pardon?
What was the age with the people that helped again with the Denis restoration?
Averon.
Averon, that's correct. That's right. Okay, thank you. At first, Atris's dealings with the Averonese involved a lot of suspicion on their part, but eventually they warmed up to him, and a number of adventurous young citizens of Averon went on him on various adventures, which involved finding the Denis survivors of the fall, and eventually culminated on them visiting Turani, which was the age that most of the people that the Denis were related to had moved to when their homeworld Garchene was abandoned. After they discovered Turani and the events that took place there, the project to restore Denis was abandoned, although a large number of Denis and Denis descendants had been found and gathered back together. Sometime between 1812 and 1816, Atris decided to build a new home in New Mexico that he named Tomana. That was located in a desert canyon not very far from the Cleft. He used the Cleft to store supplies and other items, and he lived there with Catherine, and it was in Tomana in 1816 that their daughter, Yesha, was born. The family continued to live there until Yesha left them in 1832. Yesha was basically on a journey of self-discovery after the events that took place between her brothers, and the age of Serenia. And it's not known exactly where she went or what she did for a lot of that time, but we do have clues. For instance, there's a baroglyph in Ederkimo, which shows Native American rock art that's found in Utah. So it's fairly obvious that she must have wandered around North America for a short time before she eventually settled in and lived in the Cleft for a while herself.
Larry,
Mm-hmm.
may I please ask a couple questions, and maybe I don't know if anyone else has questions?
I'll give you a chance to do that in just a moment, because we're almost done with this
Oh,
section
okay,
of the
yeah. Go ahead.
lecture.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. In any case, after living in the Cleft for a short time, she then undertook the journey following Anna's path down to the Denis city, where she would eventually meet a mentor. Catherine died after Yesha's departure, and Atris packed up everything and moved to Relishon, where he retired. The Cleft was left abandoned after Atris was gone, and it and Tomana both deteriorated. There's no mention of Tomana after Atris abandoned it, and it wasn't until 1987 that the story of the Cleft picked up again when more people from the surface found it. Okay, now we'll stop here for questions.
Okay, yeah, if I could real quick, maybe mention this. If Catherine, aka Catherine, was Rivanese, then how did she meet Atris? Did she come here to Earth?
Yes,
Or
she actually was visiting the Denis Cavern when Anna came across her in Gen's office.
so how? Okay.
Anna had broken into the office to try and find anything that Gen had written, so she could try to figure out what he was trying to do.
Well, how did Rivanese emigrate to Earth?
Because at that time they had a linking book. Yeah.
They had linking books. Okay, yeah. I just
between Denis and Riven.
Okay.
And the Rivenese did not emigrate to Earth. They emigrated to the age of Tay.
Oh,
which was
yeah. Uh-huh.
But that's another. Yeah, that's another story though.
Okay.
And when I say that Catherine was in Denis at the time she made Anna, it's because she was Gen's primary assistant, and therefore had privileges that the other Rivenese did not have.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then but correct me if I'm wrong, Arte, but I believe that Atris actually met her when they were both visiting Riven.
Well, after Atris tried to escape from Gen and got caught, he got locked in the one room in Kavir. Then the only thing in that room was the descriptive book for the Age of Riven. So he linked there, and one of the first things he did was end up in the water with the algae, and he ended up swallowing some of it and got really sick. And he was found by a couple of Rivenese who took him to Carol, and I cannot remember the brother's name. But they were he was nursed back to health by the two brothers and their cousin Katrin. And that's how he met
Interesting.
Katrin.
Yeah. So that was one heck of a coincidence. But
Interesting.
but yeah, so that
It's
so
a meet
that's
cute.
yeah. So Katrin had actually met Anna before she met Atris. But while she was nursing him, of course, they fell pretty hard for each other.
And
In
then
any
my second.
case,
Oh, I'm
uh,
sorry.
let's see, where were we?
May I ask a second question, or
Well,
would you
go right
were you
ahead.
still
Yeah,
answering my first question?
I was
What's
still
the
on
origin?
your first question, but I lost track of what I was saying.
Oh, I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. Go ahead with the other question.
Okay. What's the source of Denny Riltegamen, which I think is the Denny name for the cleft?
Well, I mentioned that earlier. It means
Oh, did you?
unknown
Okay.
Denis.
Okay, sorry about that.
Rotagamen means unknown, and then
Okay.
Denis, of course. Technically, the cleft, for some reason, is part of the age of Denis, which is why linking books work around here.
And is the cleft like the land we're standing on, or is the cleft the fissure?
We use it. The cleft is technically that gash in the ground. However,
Okay.
we call the general area the cleft because we don't have any other names for it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just being technical. Does anyone
Okay.
else have any questions for Larry or Arte? I mean, this history is quite extensive.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions? Maybe you answered all their questions.
Hopefully. I'm trying to cover all the major highlights, even if I'm not going into great detail.
No, it's
Anyway,
fascinating. Thank
so
you.
the next, so it was in the 1990s that the next phase of occupation began for this region. There was a man named Elias Zandy who I mentioned as having bought up most of the land that we can see around here. He was an archaeologist with a fascination for the American Southwest. And he hired a man named John Lofton, who had the nickname Fighting Branch for some reason. Lofton was an archaeologist that often worked for Zandy. He was also the third surface human after Anna and the Stranger to discover Denis. In 1987, Branch was exploring in Eddy County, New Mexico, looking for American Indian artifacts on behalf of Zandy, when he stumbled upon a cave with a narrow crack in the back wall. Following signs that had been cleared by human hands in the past, he ventured deep inside and discovered the same Denis digging machine that had been found by Anna in 1715. Exploring further, he found another Denis vehicle that she had not seen. He didn't explore very far on his own, because he decided that he needed to get help before he did that. It was in the next year, 1988, that Branch returned to the cave, and that time he brought Elias with him. Together they discovered the Great Shaft. This was a life-changing experience, and the two men became passionate about exploring the tunnels, caves, and caverns that the shaft led them to. They ventured farther and farther into the Denis tunnels, and finally, in 1989, the pair discovered the Denis Cavern and the ruined city within it. Branch and Elias undertook another expedition in 1990, this time accompanied by Dr. Richard A. Watson. It was then that they crossed the Denis Lake and visited islands such as Agra and Cavern. In Cavern, they found a set of journals written by a woman named Katrin, whose name you may recognize. The journals were not written in English, so they were unable to read them. That caused them to recruit specialists and linguists into the project, and with them, they formed an organization they called the Denis Restoration Foundation, or DRF. 1991 marked the last trip that Branch would take to Denis. During the expedition, Branch lost his life, although the cause remains unknown. In an interview, Dr. Watson once said about it, "Yes, a very painful subject. Suffice it to say that there was an accident. The tragedy is that it could have been avoided if we'd just been more careful." It was Branch's death, as much as anything, that caused the remaining DRF members to become borderline obsessed with ensuring that safety would be the highest priority when working in Denis. Their attitude would later clash with the desire of other arrivals to have more immediate access to all of the Denis city and ages. Then Elias Zandi himself was a wealthy archaeologist whose area of expertise and interest was the southwestern U.S. He was well known in archaeological circles, having visited a number of sites around the world to purchase valuable historical artifacts. He commonly paid top dollar and was thought to be highly eccentric. He claimed that there was some kind of connection between himself and the objects he bought. After a while, he began to focus on the Southwest exclusively, claiming that some of the artifacts had a special mystery. It was during this time that Elias became closely associated with John Lofton, who was commonly known to his friends just as Branch. Branch had a knack for finding things that Elias was particularly interested in. While searching for archaeological sites in New Mexico on June of 29th, 1987, Branch stumbled upon the cave Anna and her father had discovered in 1715 and discovered the Denis digging machines. He immediately...
Larry?
Yes?
Wasn't there a Will and Branch that were in another age, but that's a different branch, obviously, right?
Different person entirely. Those were natives of the Stone Ship Age.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. He immediately reported his finding the machines to Elias, and to describe Elias as elated does not even come close to the truth. Possessed is probably a better word. Elias became single-minded in his pursuit of the source of those machines. It was March 19th of 1988 that Branch and Elias made their first trip into the caverns, which Elias documented in his journal. It was a short one. Although through the entrance, through a small crack, suddenly into Denis-made tunnels, past the long-abandoned diggers, and eventually to the top of the great shaft. They returned from that first trip as changed men. Elias wrote in his journal, "I have come to a place I could never have imagined, and yet it seems I have come home." It was in 1989, on their third major expedition, that they reached the Denis Cavern and saw the ruined city. In his journal, Elias described what they saw clinically, but word had it that he was so overwhelmed that he collapsed to his knees and wept. He realized then that the size of this discovery required him to seek assistance, and that it was time to call in an old friend. Elias had met Dr. Richard A. Watson years before and seen him while on many expeditions. They had both begun to focus on the southwestern U.S. around the same time, although for different reasons, and had worked together on several projects. By 1989, they were close friends. After Watson was contacted by Elias, It took a time for them to plan a lengthy expedition. Watson was initially skeptical about Elias's claims, but he trusted him enough to set aside his own projects. At that same time, Elias began purchasing the thousands of acres of land surrounding the area where the tunnels had been found. It was also at this time that Elias first contacted the brothers of Rod Miller, a friend of his son Jeff. He wanted to spread the word of his discovery in a very subtle way to others he thought might feel what he called the call, and had a unique idea about how that might be done. By the time everything was in place in 1990, Branch, Elias, and Watson were ready for their first major expedition to Denis. Watson soon lost his skepticism. He later wrote, "I must admit, with every new thing I saw, with every step I took, the further I got from the surface, the closer I felt to home." The journey ended up lasting more than 3 weeks, and they got all the way to Agata Island. It was there they discovered a number of artifacts, including, most importantly, on Cavern Island, the journals of Catherine, the wife of Atris, which must have been forgotten there when they gave up their own attempts to restore Denis. In 1991, the trio went on another expedition, but it was that journey where John Lofton lost his life. The events of that trip would forever affect how Dr. Watson approached the restoration of Denis, although he never told the details of the death to anyone. Another statement that somebody got from him simply said that he broke rules and permitted things to happen that he regretted ever afterward. It was a trying experience for both Elias and Watson, but neither could help but continue pushing forward with their vision, although they both took more care with safety precautions from then on. In that same year, they were able to begin translating some of Catherine's journals and other documents that had been found from Denis into English. Elias passed the information to the Millers on the surface, and they shifted their project from a story about the discovery of the cavern to the stories told in Catherine's journals. By 1992, Watson formed an expeditionary group with some of his former colleagues, looking to perform a much more detailed and lengthy examination of the cavern. This group was the one that became the Denis Restoration Foundation. Elias didn't accompany them on the trip down, but he caught up to them in the city later. During that expedition, Elias and Watson got into an argument about what the future of Denis should be. Elias had a rather extreme view and wanted to restore the city to its original glory, repopulating it with people who called themselves Denis. He said things like, "We feel the call, for many of us have the blood of Denis within us, and it calls us home." While Watson understood his desire to a certain extent, he felt Elias was taking it to a radical extreme. In the end, however, both were committed to the restoration. Watson wrote, "Denis was calling me, maybe not exactly the same way it was calling Elias, but it was calling." That was the only disagreement they had, so Elias and Watson continued to work together, and Elias continued to fund the DRF. As Elias became more consumed with the restoration, his health began to deteriorate from overwork. And in 1993, he underwent open-heart surgery, and his doctors warned him to slow down. But by then, his life was tied to the restoration of Denis, and nothing could convince him to ease up. In 1995, small groups of people came to the desert looking for a path to Denis. Invariably, they claimed they were called. Elias was thrilled. Many of those who came were accepted as volunteers in the restoration project. In November of 95, Elias escorted Rand and Robin Miller back to the city, and Elias' son Jeff was with them. Jeff had been down several times before, but this trip was memorable. Jeff and Elias had a rather large philosophical disagreement over the restoration of the city. Jeff had some very strong opinions regarding the path his father was taking and was very vocal about it. He rather strongly stated that he felt that the restoration was never supposed to be purely physical, but that it was primarily a spiritual renewal. Elias didn't understand that position at all, and the arguments grew heated at many points. The two parted ways, and it's suspected that they never saw each other again. In 1996, Elias died of a massive heart attack. He left most of his fortune to the Denis Restoration Foundation, the nonprofit organization he had established, and of which Watson was now the chairman. Watson was also the executor of Elias' estate. He didn't leave any money to his son, but strangely, he did leave him the land around the Cleft in New Mexico. This gave Jeff control of one of the entrances into the Denis tunnel system. Watson, who was feeling a bit overwhelmed by the responsibility that was thrust on him so suddenly, reformed the foundation and renamed it the Denis Restoration Council in January of 1997. Partly, the reorganization was intended to create a supervisory group to help him oversee the restoration. In his own way, Watson was nearly as obsessed with the restoration project as Elias had been, but he never forgot their mistakes and believed that the work had to be carried out with a focus on caution and safety. Okay, do we have any questions that have popped up?
No, I don't see any. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. And we've got a half hour left, so we'll talk about Jeff Sandy, and that will probably be it for this session. Okay.
I also have some background information around the creation of the Great Shaft. So whenever you want to fit that.
Yeah. With that, we will be doing a complete tour of the shaft itself, so that would be best kept for that.
Okay.
Professor Jeffrey Zandy was the son of Elias, the man who funded the first expeditions to Denis and was the major backer of the Denis Restoration Foundation. When Elias died of heart failure in 1996, he left his remaining fortune to the foundation, but the land immediately surrounding the Cleft to Jeff. Jeff was originally involved with the DRF, but left when he and his father became estranged over what the restoration of Denis should mean. They didn't reconcile before Elias passed away. When Dr. Watson reorganized the DRF into the Denis Restoration Council, he offered a seat in it to Jeff, but Jeff refused, stating that his vision of the restoration was, quote-unquote, beyond what the council could comprehend. Jeff was very interested in learning why Denis was abandoned and seems to have met Yisha personally at some point during his research, possibly while undertaking her Path of the Hand quest. In 2003, he began living at least part of each year in a trailer near the Cleft, waiting to assist explorers who were drawn there. Jeff was one of the true believers in Yisha, along with Phil Henderson. His faith in her never wavered. Even to this day, long after the DRC has disbanded and left Denis behind, Jeff can still be found by new explorers. He's usually waiting for them at his trailer, although he disappears once they've started their journey. Jeff, however, was involved in a series of events that took place before most people began coming to the cavern. There was the events became known as pre-after because that was what Jeff named a related website. It led up to the revelation of the Denise city to non-DRC people. Pre-after was an initiative by Professor Zandy, and its purpose was to raise people's curiosity about Yisha's message by engaging them in a series of puzzles which would culminate in some of them going to Denis. It began in 2001 when Jeff Zandy went to the Carlsbad Inn on Highway 62 near Carlsbad, New Mexico. He approached the manager and asked to place a picture on the back of his billboard and offered good money if he were allowed to do it. The manager of the inn told Zandy of a local sign man, and a contract was paid for the sign to be placed for 1 year, from June 2001 to the end of May 2002. The picture that was put up had one set of GPS coordinates written on it. Apparently, Zandy's first intention was to have a series of coordinates on the billboard message, but for unknown reasons, he changed the plan. From August 3rd through August 5th of 2001, the second Mysterium convention was held in Carlsbad Inn. An unidentified person attended the Mysterium wearing a t-shirt with the pre-after spiral printed on it and relayed a clue if asked about it. In April of that year, Zandy created a website called preafter.com which showed the pre-after spiral and a line of text that read, "The gathered are known by their faces of stone." And let's see. Okay. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm scrolling through some pictures. If you look at the stream, most of them aren't relative, but I'm searching for a picture of the spiral. I need to organize these better.
I think it's safe to say we can excuse Murphac since we're not going to be needing any more, if he wants to go, needing any more special effects today.
Actually, that's true. I thought we would be going down into the Cleft proper today, but as it turns out, I've talked too long. Okay.
Sorry about that, Murphac.
Anyway, if you look at the stream, I've got, here, let me resize that. I've got a picture of the pre-after spiral up. Okay. In the early part of May 2002, Zandy posted a series of cryptic messages on the DRC forum to get people to go to the sign and look at the sign on the billboard, which would be taken down at the end of the month. It began with a billboard thread, as well as messages on his web's page. For the first post in the DRC forum, Zandy's email was listed as 080401 and a GPS coordinate. In his second forum post, he changed it to 080501 at currentargus.com. The first quote-unquote email address was a date and coordinates to the billboard with his message on the back, and the second one was a date and a website located in New Mexico. It was intended to reaffirm that the location was in New Mexico. However, the people following Zandy's clues misunderstood the coordinates at first and thought they pointed to a location 24 kilometers south of Carlsbad. When the third Mysterium Convention was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania from July 19th to the 21st of 2002, Zandy sent the attendees a fax message with more clues because the sign on the back of the billboard in Carlsbad had been taken down. The clues gave the attendees a reminder of the coordinates that had been on the sign. When the first set of coordinates were narrowed down, a metal pre-after spiral was found in Petroglyph National Monument on the West Mesa of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Zandy's pre-after website was updated to acknowledge the success. Let's see. Here we go. I've got a picture up on the stream of the pre-after spiral that was found at the GPS coordinates. In September of 2002, after the first spiral was found, Jeff updated the pre-after website with new clues that eventually provided coordinates for a second spiral. That spiral was found in Tent Rocks National Monument. In October of that same year, after more clues were posted on the website, a third spiral was found at Turquoise Butte in western New Mexico. On November 26th of 2002, Zandy posted the date 11/30/02 and the time 2 p.m. below a puzzle he placed on the site. The next day, he posted, "Be at the fountain." On November 30th, DRC members L.R. Bolt and Sowden went to the fountain at the Millennium Park at the correct time and met Zandy there. Jeff was towing around and living out of the streamlined trailer that he later parked near the Cleft. Okay, and hang on just a second. I'm going to go ahead and bring up. This will take a moment. Because I do not have these organized. Here we go. And up on the stream, I now have a picture up of Jeff Zandy with one of the two people who went out to meet him.
Is he the one on the left or the right?
Zandy is really easy to see because he's wearing the type of clothing that he wears in the Cleft.
Oh, the guy on the right.
Mm-hmm. And the pre-after spiral.
Oh, yes, I see that now on his t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Zandy gave them the coordinates gave them coordinates to the edge of the Denazin wilderness along the Navajo reservation in New Mexico. He also gave them the cryptic message, "For the next stage, it's in your face." On December 1st of 2002, RBNH, actually, it's supposed to be Robin Hood 222, although he's abbreviated it, went to the location and found the fourth spiral hidden in a rock formation that looked like the profile of a face when viewed from a certain angle. The last major activity in the pre-after website came on December 2002 when Zandy presented one last set of clues. That time he simply asked the finders of the four spirals to meet up and provide proof of their gathering. Upon receiving a picture of the meeting, Zandy changed the spiral design on the pre-after website to the hand spiral of Yisha's journey cloths. The reason for the original design being so strange was never made clear.
Well, if you look at the original design, there were 9 spokes on the spiral, and as each rock spiral design was found on the pre-after website, one of those spokes was removed. So there was four.
As a matter,
four
if you look at, yeah,
four
if you,
spokes
by the way,
removed.
excuse me, if you look at the stream window, I have a picture of that spiral you're talking about.
So there were 4 quests, if you will, and each quest removed a spoke. So at the end of those 4 quests, you had 5 spokes to give the spiral handprint.
This is what it looked like originally. And this is the image that he changed it to when he was done.
And that spiral, and forgive me if you already said this, the spiral denotes the Barrow's spiral age?
Actually, we don't know for certain. We do know that the spiral, though, is a common feature in Barrow art and philosophy, and Yisha adopted it. What it meant to her, though, I don't know if I can. I don't think I've ever heard a concrete explanation.
One thing that the spiral generally represents in all the baroglyphs is a journey. That's it appears in glyphs that refer to journeys, I should say. So the baroglyph study group of the old Dunning Linguistics Fellowship had a consensus that when we see a spiral in a glyph, it refers to a journey. And this is the glyph for Yisha's first journey. So there you go.
And that would also include the spiral symbol on the great tree, the floor of the great tree, which reminds me of Follow the Yellow Brick Road, but that's also a spiral.
That's actually the shell shape.
Oh, that's okay. That's different. Okay.
Yeah, it is a journey symbol, but that one's I don't know if that one was placed there by Yisha or by or if it may even date all the way back to Kadish. But the point is that if you look at that, it did have the bar down from the center going to the point, which was the path of the shell symbol that Yisha introduced.
Yes, I do remember that now. Thank you.
Okay. In 2003, Zandy asked for people following the event to make temporary hand symbols based on the journey cloth symbol and take pictures of them. The larger the symbol and the more public the place, the better. Zandy accepted a certain amount of pictures of the symbols of a certain size in public area before raising the bar and requiring a larger size and a more public area. Those that he did accept were sent a t-shirt from him with the hand symbol on it and a link to the pre-after website. This was the last part of what some regard as the first journey of Ur. A certain number of those who participated were given personal invitations to visit Denis. And after that, of course, is when Jeff took up temporary residence at here in the desert, where, as I mentioned, you can find him in his trailer to this day.
By the way, Darlene is logged into Twitch.
Yeah, I did. I saw that mentioning, or you mentioned that earlier. Hi, Darlene. Darlene is Darlene Watson. She's Richard A. Watson's mother. Say, Richard has occasionally visited the tours or participated in tours in the past, but it's a rare thing because his church actually holds services on Saturday. So he's normally with them rather than available to be with the tours.
And he's the basis for Dr. Richard A. Watson.
Correct.
Who you mentioned earlier.
Although he actually, Richard Watson, the avatar for Dr. Watson was made to look like him, just as the avatar for Jeff Sandy was made to look like the real Jeff Sandy. However, the voice of Dr. Watson was provided by David Ogden Stiers, who also did the
Escher.
Escher in Myst 5. Richard says that he actually tried out to be the voice for Dr. Watson, but was told that he didn't sound like the character.
Oh, how awful.
So,
Well, at least they used his likeness.
mm-hmm. And
Rand
looking at
Zavy
the
looks
time,
like Rand.
Okay, we have 15 minutes, actually closer to 20 yet, so I'll go ahead and talk about Watson. Dr. Richard Watson was the chairman of the DRC from 1994 until 2003. Watson was born on June 8, 1961, and attended college at the University of Utah, graduating with a doctorate in history. Watson had met and become a friend of Elias Zandi due to their connections with various historical societies. In 1990, Elias and John Lofton invited him to go on their fourth expedition to the Denis Cavern. In the following year, 1991, that was when John Lofton was killed, and Watson was always reticent about that trip, merely saying that Lofton was lost to a tragic accident. In 1992, Watson and Zandi formed an expeditionary group called the Denis Restoration Foundation, along with several colleagues. This group began to carry supplies down to the cavern to allow them to live in Denis for long periods. Around this time, Elias and Richard began to have disagreements about how to proceed with the cavern's restoration. It was that same year, of course, that Rand and Robin Miller were also invited to visit Denis. They were asked to make a game based on the journals written by Catherine, which detailed her life during what became known as the Era of Abandonment. A percentage of the game sales were to go toward the restoration of Denis. From 1993 onward, the cavern would be continuously inhabited by members of the DRF. In 1994, Watson was the de facto head of the DRF because Elias Zandi had suffered a heart attack and had to go open heart surgery the prior year. He organized two major supply expeditions that were nicknamed the Ice Cream Trips due to the number of cases of traffic safety cones that were purchased and packed in. In 1996, Elias suffered his second heart attack and died, leaving Dr. Watson the sole chairman of the foundation. In 1997, Watson reorganized the foundation and called it the Denis Restoration Council. Several years later, in 2000, work formally began on actively restoring Agra Island with a mind toward making it safe enough for public visitors. It was in 2002 that authorized explorers were allowed into Denis and a few ages for the first time. Explorers have been trickling into the cavern since 1995, saying that they were following a calling they felt, but they were showing up in manageable numbers and the DRC was allowing them to assist in the work. They were not allowed into any of the ages or into areas that had not been approved as safe enough to be there, for there to be no risk to life and limb. Everything seemed to be going well until 2002, when Phil Henderson, a restoration engineer the DRC had hired to reconstruct and clean up the age of Eterkemo, he disappeared. Watson and the other members of the DRC were very worried, although Henderson eventually contacted Watson and told him that he was okay, but would not be returning. The next year, 1993, the trickle of non-DRC employed explorers turned into a flood, and the DRC began dealing with an unwelcome horde of people that showed up with practically no support or supplies. It was left to the DRC to feed, clothe, and house them. As it turned out, Jeff Zandy, the son of Elias, was aiding them in finding their way to Denis in the name of a mysterious woman named Yisha. Later that same year, they bowed to the inevitable and began to welcome the new explorers to the cavern. This led to a series of events that threatened to derail the restoration efforts. The new explorers were impatient and did not recognize the authority of the DRC. They accused the organization of merely being obstructionist and discounted the DRC claims that things needed to be taken slowly to avoid needless injury. In 2003, Phil Henderson returned and began to tell the new explorers about Yisha, and without going into specifics, that they needed to trust that she knew better than the DRC about how the restoration should go. He spoke of a spiritual restoration rather than a physical effort, the physical effort that the DRC was undertaking to make the city inhabitable again. Another restoration engineer, Douglas Sharper, or I should say he was a contractor rather than an official restoration engineer, but he joined with Phil in speaking ill of the DRC, although in his case it was because he was unhappy with the way they were progressing with the areas where he was assigned to work. The final straw for Dr. Watson came in late in 2003 when Henderson was involved in a structural collapse that apparently took his life. Dr. Watson left the DRC and wandered around the Denis tunnels for weeks to try to sort out his thoughts. He ended up taking the 3-day long walk back to the Great Shaft. There he stopped in an Etertomonti halfway up the shaft on January 17th of 2004. It was there that he wrote the final entry in his journal and deliberately left it in the rest house. In the entry, he concluded with a statement that he was heading up to the surface to follow the journey Phil Henderson had spoken of and see what there was to discover for himself. 2 years later, in 2005, Dr. Watson met Yisha in person in the ballroom of Kavir. He took the quest to gain control of the Barrow's master tablet and succeeded where everyone before him had failed. Unlike any before him, he gave control of the tablet to the Barrow, freeing them from being controlled and bound to the caverns for the first time in thousands of years. Dr. Watson returned to the cavern one last time in September of 2007 and revealed his part in the independence of the bottle. He left the DRC in control of Kate Alexander and returned to the surface, never to be seen in the caverns again. There is suspicion that he retired from archaeology and now lives in a rural property in Washington state. It's said that he inherited the property from his grandparents and uses it to raise goats. And that is that. We're talking about the people of the Cleft. We will be, excuse me a second. I forgot to turn that off. We'll be going into the environment of the Cleft next week when we pick up the tour.
Wow. Well, that was very detailed. Arte, do you have anything to supplement that at this time?
No, that was pretty in depth.
By the way, speaking out of character for a moment, that is exactly what Richard A. Watson is doing these days. Because of his illness from the brain tumor, he's more or less retired to his home, which was a cabin that has been, well, the cabin is a separate building, but he built a new house there. But he inherited the property in Washington state from his grandparents and does indeed raise goats on it.
I could see that's bad, but okay. You might want to edit that out of your YouTube stream.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, no! I'm not going to let you off that easy.
Oh,
You're going to have to live with everyone who ever sees that video hearing that.
Okay. So I have during this tour, I keymailed to each and every one of you a keymail that has Cavern Tours in all capital letters. And that's something that I suggest you keep in your inbox or move it to another folder, because after each tour, I update the keymail to the next tour date. So if you were to open it right now, you'd see our next tour is going to be July 23rd, Saturday, July 23rd, starting, of course, at 11 key time. So if anyone did not get that, please let me know. And as far as announcements, Arte, do you want to go ahead and announce your story nights?
Yes. Story night is going to begin in about an hour, roughly, at 1400 key time. So hour, 5 minutes. I'll be posting it in Buddy Chat here shortly. But it's in the public neighborhood of Tsano's Hood. And it's, I tell the history of Denis from the very beginning of their creation myth all the way through the end of the third restoration. There's been suggestions that I include the current restoration, which I probably will at the end of the cycle. The history takes approximately 104 stories, so it's basically a 2-year story cycle. And at the end of which, I tell a 5-part chapter play that is a part of fan fiction regarding the third restoration, and then there's the Baroglyph tour, which takes a couple weeks to get through, and we visit all the Baroglyphs in all the ages.
We will also be doing at a later point in the Cavern Tours, but that probably won't be until next year. If you look at the stream window, by the way, I have some of the regular events up. Ignore the one about Phil Live because I don't believe that was going on today.
Okay. And if anyone, Arte, you do invite people who wish to join Story Night to join your buddies list. So if anyone wants to be on Arte's buddies list so that he can buddy chat you whenever the story is about to begin, please go ahead and do that now.
Yeah.
This is the avatar that Arte uses for that.
And I need your key number so I can add you to my buddies list. Adding me to your buddies list does not include you in the chat.
And then do you also want to tell them about your language lessons? Do you have those going on as well?
Yes, I do. Currently, there are 2 students in the language taking language classes, and the available times are from 20 key time until 22 key time. Those are start times. The first lesson takes about 90 minutes to a couple hours to complete. All the rest are between like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. 6 classes for the 101 classes, and you'll learn how to read Denis, you'll learn how to count in Denis, and you'll learn how to tell time in Denis. And there's also daytime classes that run from 10 a.m. key time until the last start time is noon key time.
And would you like to publish your key number for, forgive the butchering of your name, Shuka something Ren? Shuka something, Shuka something, Shuka Laka Laka Ren and Denny.
Shokutan
Ren, what is it?
Yeah, Shokutan means
Ren.
yeah.
Thank you.
Means instructor Ren.
You could have saved me from all my humiliation by pronouncing that right away.
Yeah, but you did give us all some comic relief, so I thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Maybe it'll attract more people.
The KH is pronounced like the H in Hanukkah, or the G in Dutch. So.
And what's his key number?
His key number is yada, yada, yada. Let me look that up real quick.
Well, I can look it up too. Let's see who finds it faster. It is 80428.
What she said.
Yeah. So maybe I've redeemed myself somewhat. So they should.
Again,
go ahead.
Well, for that, since I don't have that avatar with me now, you'll have to keymail him, but make sure you put your own key number in that keymail so I can get in touch with you. Also, you can email me if you want. Let me put that up on the screen too.
And this is going to show up on YouTube and Facebook if this is okay.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, keymail me. Keymail the avatar Shokutan Ren. And yeah, sorry about that, Pot Hopper. I got a little confused talking live on Skype, and I, by force of habit, I also pressed the tab key while I was talking.
By the way, how much better do your fingers feel now that you since you didn't have to hold down the tab key all this time?
Yeah, a lot better.
As far as other Cavern events, there is one competing event, apparently at 1400. It's called Unwritten, and it's out of Cavern.
Okay, is that something that's
I've never
Yeah,
heard of
that's
that
not on my
before.
list. So, Unwritten is the Denis
It's
role-playing game that's going on at the it's they sell some books for it, and it was adopted by Cyan, so it's semi-official. I won't say that it's not canon though. Uh, there's a lot of differences between the game setup and what for Unwritten and the game setup for Orm. For
okay.
one thing, the maps are completely different.
Okay. It is listed in the Guild of Messengers Keymail that they
Hmm.
update every month. And then at
Okay.
1600, there's karaoke. Larry, do you still bless the crowd with your singing there?
I wouldn't call what I do a blessing. But then, however, no, I haven't done that since the Cavern Tours started back up again because the time and effort kind of would be too much.
Okay.
So
But anyway, they still do have karaoke where there's live singing, and that's in the new Guild of Messengers
not
Pub.
not live. It's pre-recorded.
Oh,
What hap
pre-recorded.
The way it works is that you pre-record yourself singing karaoke on to a song, put together a set of usually three of them, and then submit them through the karaoke website. And
Oh,
the
cool.
and then the host Donahue Donahue will take all the songs that have been submitted that week and then play them on the night of the meeting.
And that's in the new Guild of Messengers Pub, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The
All right.
audio,
We'll
by
see.
the way, is also on a separate channel, so you have to make a note of that. Uh,
Oh,
Say if you look at the video stream on Twitch, uh, down in the lower left hand corner, I've got the stream address, which is an IP address.
okay. So, yeah, if anyone wants to know more about Cavern events, you can visit the Guild of Messengers Hood, and then they have a list of events there. And then they also have a website. So, with that said, any last minute questions or comments before we adjourn?
And for those of you who are on Discord, Minnesunda also has an events channel where she posts the events that are scheduled for that particular day.
Yes. So we hope to see everyone July 23rd. I know the fourth Saturday of each month might be a little harder to remember than the second Saturday, but please do calendar us. We'd love to see you again.
And that's it. I'm going to be ending the stream now. Thank everyone. Thank you for coming, and I hope that you truly enjoyed today's event, and because it's going to be the start of several years worth of this, at least.
Yes. And let's all give a hand for Larry and Arte and Mirfak.
Murphak had it easy. He won't. He's not going to get off this lightly the next month.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can't use the ladders here.
Okay, and that's it. The stream is in.